Hello there people, this is Bruce McCall or nintenbruce here, back again with another deck recipe for Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's Decade Duels Plus, and this is also the first time where I'll be releasing a September 2013 ban list version, I guess you could say. I've always done Decade Duels Plus. This will be the first time where I've released a deck for Decade Duels Plus and one for the current format at the same time, so you guys get to choose which format you want to play it in a nutshell. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Anyway, Vayu Turbo. Now, the point of Vayu Turbo, for those of you that don't know, is yes, it runs Blackwings, but it runs completely different from a normal Blackwing deck. What you're banking on is putting cards like Sirocco the Dawn or Elphen the Raven plus Vayu the Emblem of Honor into the graveyard to what I'm calling Vayu sinking your Blackwing monsters and just swarm the field with high attack monsters and possibly even OTK people as well, which is quite nice. So now that the basis is covered, as per usual, I'm going to go through the monsters, then the spells and the traps, and yeah, we'll just go from there. So starting off, one Armaggedon Knight. Now the point of this little beastie is literally just to summon it and use this effect of bunging a dark from the graveyard, or sorry, from the deck into the graveyard. The card itself is pretty rubbish in terms of 1400 attack and 1200 defense, and obviously if you can run 4 Dark Greffers, I would have chosen another Dark Grepher instead of Armaggedon Knight, but that's not going to happen. Thing is, you can't just run on 3 Dark Greffers, you need something else to help you bung things into the graveyard, and Armaggedon Knight can do just that. So don't be scared, use one of them, but don't use any more than that, I would say. One Blackwing Elphen the Raven. Now, this is something that a lot of Vayu Turbo players don't use, but I actually really like the card, and people don't expect it if they think they're facing the average Vayu Turbo deck. Now, its effect, when you summon it, you can change the battle position of one of your opponent's monsters. Has to be a normal summon when you do it though, and because you'll be special summoning like crazy Vayu sync monsters, or even have another Blackwing on the field already, then you're going to be normal summoning this more often than not without a tribute, which is brilliant, and 2200 beastie without a tribute is quite nice. But only run one of him, 2 or even 3 I believe is too many. It's just a nice surprise for the deck, and again, not many people expecting it. 2 Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. I would love to shove 3 in, but because this isn't a proper Blackwing deck, it's just based as Vayu Turbo, 2 is more than enough. So don't run 3. For those of you that don't remember, I mean almost everyone has used Gale at some point, but remember you half the attack of your opponent's monster once per turn, so you can keep doing it if it's still there, and you can also special summon it from your hand to the field if there's another Blackwing type on the field, so again, easy swarm. 3 Blackwing Shura the Blue Flame. This is one of your bigger beat sticks without any conditions. 1800 attack isn't bad at all, and its effect when you destroy an opponent's monster by battle and special summon out Blackwing Gale or Vayu the Emblem of Honor is just perfect. Again, it's just bringing monsters out and chucking them into the graveyard. Now, when it does bring a monster out, its effect is negated, so think carefully before bringing out that Gale. Remember, you won't be able to use this effect. But I'll show you Vayu's effect in a second, which Shura negates and helps you perform a synchro summon on the field. So, yes, we'll get back to that in a sec, but regardless, we're around 3 of him. Now got 3 Blackwing Sirocco the Dawn. Again, a big beat stick which just has a situational ability of having to have no monsters on the field so you can normal summon it without tribute, but 2000 attack, and again, you know, opening with this card is pretty good. If you don't open with it, no biggie, you're going to be chucking it in the graveyard, so don't you worry your little cotton socks about it. Definitely run 3 of those. Oh, and remember its effect as well, where it can absorb every other Blackwing monster's attack on the field as well, onto itself or onto another monster, Blackwing related, and you can just attack with it. Very, very handy. Do remember that if you're trying to reach over a bigger beastie. 3 Blackwing Vayu the Emblem of Honor. This is the main heart and soul of it really. You have to have 3, you can't have any less, otherwise Vayu Turbo is not Vayu Turbo. So, its effect, when it's on the field, you cannot synchro summon with it. So unlike every other tuner, it has to be in the graveyard for its proper Vayu sync effect to kick in. So when it is in the graveyard, you select this and one other Blackwing monster whose complete level stars equal a Blackwing synchro monster that you've got in your extra deck, and then you special summon it from the extra deck. Now, the reason I keep saying Vayu sync is because it's not classed as a normal synchro summon, so do be careful there. If you do a Vayu sync, you can't monster reborn it afterwards, or well, you can't use Call of the Haunted in this game, but you get the point. Don't think you can target and special summon it again for whatever reason, because you have not summoned it properly through synchro summon. Now going back to its other effect of while it's face up on the field you cannot use it as a tuner monster, bear in mind Shura's effect, if you pull out Vayu, Shura negates that, so you can use it as a normal tuner and get something like Catastor out if you really want to. So yeah, a couple of different plays you could do with Vayu, but more often than not you're going to be bunging it into the graveyard as soon as possible and then putting the monsters in the graveyard to match that, like Sirocco or Elphen, to get those Blackwing Armed Wings or Blackwing Armor Masters out. Now, with those sorts of synchro summons as well, I'll also say you do negate their effects, so don't think you can cause bleeding damage or not be destroyed by battle with your synchro monsters. Big thing there. The whole thing, it sounds like it sucks, but the whole thing with this deck is to just do as many Vayu syncs as possible and just overwhelm your opponent in one fell swoop. So that is the deal with Blackwing Vayu, the Emblem of Honor, in this deck. Now, speaking of bunging things in the grave, one card Trooper, always use its effect of getting rid of 3 cards. More chance of bunging Vayu or Sirocco or Elphen in the graveyard by accident. And it's a nice little effect where you get a card when it's destroyed as well. One Dark Arm Dragon, goes without saying, a ton of darks here, and you've got a lot of graveyard control here, so even if you draw this late game, it's always possible to still get it out. So yeah, definitely don't discard it on a whim. Now, here's the daddy I've been talking about as well, 3 Dark Grephers. If you've got a Sirocco in your hand or Elphen, you can use Dark Grepher's effect to discard that card and special summon Dark Grepher, so you still get a normal summon in hand. And on top of that, its other effect of discarding a dark monster to bung another dark monster from the deck into the graveyard is amazing. What that means is if it's on the field, then you can discard that Vayu, the Emblem of Honor, from your hand and bung a Sirocco in, so that's an instant Vayu summon that you can do, or vice versa. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Bearing in mind it doesn't just have to be Blackwings, it can also be this little beastie here, Plaguespreader Zombie, or whatever else you fancy. But yeah, again, with its effect of being superseding Armaggedon Knight, in my opinion, it's also 1700 attack and 1600 defense. So as a normal monster, not bad at all, guys. Not bad at all. Moving on, as we've already said, 1 Plaguespreader Zombie, and then 2 Ryko Lightsworn Hunters. Again, a nice little surprise for this type of deck. You're mainly using it for the mill effect, but it's also a problem-solving card. Obviously, attack and defense is nothing, but to destroy any card on the field, absolutely amazing. And you'll probably Vayu sync straight after as well because of the milling. So yeah, run 2 of those. I think 3 is way too many, especially with the amount of weak monsters that are in this deck to a degree. And then to top off the monsters, 1 Sangan. Goes without saying, really. Now going into spells, 1 Allure of Darkness. I find 2 is a bit of a pain in the backside because you want a lot of your monsters in your graveyard. So yeah, Allure of Darkness, not bad for that odd dark monster you don't know what to do with in your hand. 1 Brain Control, obviously for tuning or doing whatever with your opponent's monster. 3 Burials from a Different Dimension. Brilliant card. Yes, it could be a terrible draw if you have all 3, but you can do so many Vayu syncs, it's unreal. Plus use Plaguespreader Zombie's effect again as well. So select up 3 move from play monsters and return them to their owner's graveyard. Bearing in mind you can chain this to things like your opponent's Monster Reborn as well, just to be, sorry, not Monster Reborn, but any sort of removal effects like Burial for, not Burial from a Different Dimension Reincarnation I believe it's called. So things like that, bear that in mind, okay? 1 card destruction, because you could end up with, say, a load of Vayus in your hand or a load of Siroccos, and bung them in the graveyard isn't that bad. 2 Foolish Burials, there for obvious reasons. 1 Giant Trunade, 1 Heavy Storm, 1 Monster Reborn. Again, bear in mind you can't special summon your Vayu synced monsters that you've created. 1 Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Reinforcement of the Army for the Dark Grephers, or worst case scenario Armaggedon Knight. Going into the traps, Crush Card Virus. There's a load of below 1000 attacker monsters here. Vayu, Plaguespreader, and even Sangan. I know it's not below 1000, but you get the gist. And then its other brother as well, Deck Devastation Virus, so that would be for your Siroccos, or worst case scenario, if your opponent is about to take one of your Vayu synced monsters, use Deck Devastation Virus. You can use this in so many ways, fantastic. And if you draw both of these and activate them, your opponent has no chance. 1 Icarus Attack. In these sorts of decks, I would usually advise 3, but because there's so much destruction in Decade Duels Plus, like Crush Card, Deck Devastation in tandem, you've got the Torrential, you've got the Mirror Force, you've got the Heavy Storm, etc, etc, 1 Icarus Attack will suffice. 1 Return from a Different Dimension. In case you don't bump into those Burial from a Different Dimension, this will easily help you get out all those Siroccos or Elphins you've laid in, and that's going to be an easy OTK there as well. Yeah, very, very small cost, half your life points for that. And then 1 Torrential Tribute. So that is the complete Vayu Turbo main deck. If we go into the extra deck now, I've got 2 Ally of Justice Catastor. If you really want, you could have 1 Magical Android if you fancy, but definitely run at least 1 Ally of Justice Catastor, 1 Ally of Justice Decisive Armour, Field Marshal, or Mistworm, depends what your style of play is, 1 Armory Arm, 2 Black Rose Dragon. You could have a Dark Strike Fighter in there if you fancy, but I actually find Black Rose better, I really do in this style of deck. 3 Blackwing Armed Wings, you just have to, and 2 Blackwing Armour Masters. Now with that you could run 3 if you wanted to, but it's important extra deck space which I feel you shouldn't, take up. The amount of other synchros you could do, and you'll barely ever get 3. That is my cat trying to get into the door there. Right, sorry about that guys, my cat decided to try and bundle in and ruin everything by knocking a whole load of things over. But anyway, as I was saying, 3 Blackwing Arm Masters is way too much in this deck. It really is way too many, so only run 2. 1 Bryonac Dragon of the Ice Barrier. You could have Goyo Guardian if you wanted to, or you can sub one of these other extra deck monsters out for another 6-star. More often than not, you don't actually get into 6 stars that often, oddly enough, even with Plaguespreader Zombie going a bit crazy. But yeah, if you feel that you do use 6-star monsters a lot of the time, then take out something else like either Armory Arm, or, well, I suppose that's the only suggestion really. Armory Arm is very situational, but at least it's there to use it. Anyway, I'll leave you to decide. 1 Red Dragon Archfiend and 1 Stardust Dragon, and it is possible to get the 8 stars out fairly often as well. Going into the side deck now, got an extra Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind just in case. We do have Kalute the Moonshadow, only 2 of them. In a Vayu Turbo deck, not many people expect this, so when you want to side out, then great, pop these in, they're amazing cards, and again, no one expects it. 2 Caius the Shadow Monarch, 1 Gauze, because you don't run, Black Whirlwind or anything like that in this deck. The extra Allure of Darkness if you wanted to change your style of play. An extra Deck Devastation Virus if you know what your opponent's running. The 2 extra Icarus Attack just in case. 1 Mirror Force. 2 Royal Oppression. Now these are quite good actually in this type of deck. Because of the way this deck runs, the synchro summons are, the special summons are either mid damage step from Shura's effect, so Royal Oppression can't negate it, or it will be changed to a Vayu sync summon, which you don't actually lose out. Your opponent will keep on paying life points until they realise they can't negate the summon. So yeah, for you, this is going to hurt them a lot more than it is you. So run 2 of those. And then 2 Trap Stun. If your opponent's quite trap heavy and you can never do the OTK, then side these in. Amazing cards there. So that is it. That is my Vayu Turbo deck for Decade Duels Plus. As always, give this a go guys, give this a go. Pop your comments in the section below, let me know your thoughts about it all. And yeah, it's nice to actually do justice to a semi-Blackwing deck. I haven't touched Blackwings in ages, so this is actually a nice surprise and a nice feel. So yeah, until next time guys, you take care, and I will see you again soon.